The 2022 season of Nippon Professional Baseball gets underway on Friday, March 25th, just a few weeks from now. The usual 143-game schedule will run until September 28th, postseason in October, a month earlier than last year. Interleague play will be from May 24th to June 12th. The All-Star Series is scheduled for Tuesday, July 26th at the PayPay Dome and Wednesday, July 27th at Matsuyama. As I did last year, I'll make separate previews for the two leagues. Today we're talking about the 6 teams of Central League, next week Pacific League. I'll tell you about each team's strengths and weaknesses, their best players, new additions that could make a difference. Then in the end, I'll briefly tell you what I think is going to happen. I'm doing this in the first week of March, so there's the possibility that something big could change between now and opening day. If that happens, I'll leave a pinned comment telling what happened. If you're new here and you want to keep up with NPB this year, hit the subscribe button and check in every Monday when I talk about what's gone on in the past week in NPB and in several other baseball leagues around the world. Also, link in the description to a couple other channels that exclusively cover NPB in English. Let's start with the defending Japan Series champions, the Tokyo Yakult Swallows. The last place team in 2020, they were third last year for a long time but got better as the season went on, having their best months in September and October. They grabbed the top spot at the very end of the regular season, beat the Giants in the Climax Series and the Buffaloes in the Japan Series. They were the highest scoring team in Central League last year. The offensive leader was 22-year-old third baseman Munetaka Murakami, with over 100 walks, 100 RBI, and 39 home runs, on his way to being named Central League MVP. Second baseman Tetsuto Yamada, a best 9 selection and former MVP, hit 34 home runs last year. 28-year-old outfielder Yasutaka Shiomi, 14 homers, one of the top base stealers with 21, and the leader in triples with 7. A pair of foreign hitters, Domingo Santana and Jose Osuna, both hit double digits in home runs, and everyone is coming back this season. Their .345 team ERA was the league's third best, even though they didn't have a true ace. A few decent starters like Yasuhiro Ogawa and 20-year-old right-hander Yasunobu Okugawa, but they rely more on their bullpen. 25-year-old right-hander Noboru Shimizu recorded 50 holds last year, a new league record, 72 appearances and a .239 ERA. Closer Scott McGuff appeared 66 times, ERA .252, third in Central League with 31 saves. Their pitching could get even better. 30-year-old right-hander A.J. Cole joins the pitching staff this year after 7 seasons in MLB. In 2019 with the Indians, he posted a .381 ERA in 25 games. In 2020 with the Blue Jays, it was .309 in 24 games. Last year, he was injured for a while and didn't play much. He threw 8 innings of relief and allowed only 1 run. So he was good in MLB when he was healthy, and if he stays healthy this year, he should be a nice addition to an already good bullpen. Another new arrival that could have a big impact is 30-year-old lefty Andrew Suarez, one of the top pitchers in the KBO last year. In 22 starts, he posted a .218 ERA with 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. All the biggest contributors are back from a team that won it all in 2021. The Swallows look like they have a good chance of repeating last year's success. The Hanshin Tigers led the Central League standings for most of last season but finished in second, and in the first stage of the Climax Series were swept and sent home. Their team ERA of .330 was the league's second best. 29-year-old right-hander Koyo Aoyagi tied for the league lead in wins and had the second best ERA, averaging over 6 innings per start in 25 games. Yuki Nishi is another reliable starter. He was top 10 in ERA. 30-year-old Joe Gunkel made 20 starts, ERA under 3. One pitcher that could give the rotation a boost if he stays healthy is 26-year-old lefty Haruto Takahashi. He missed a lot of time last year, but in the 7 starts he made, he averaged 7 innings per start, ERA 165, through 2 shutouts and 10.1 strikeouts per 9. 30-year-old left-handed reliever Suguru Iwazaki was one of the best setup men, second in the league in holds, sub-3 ERA in over 60 games. They had one of the league's best closers. Roberto Suarez had a .116 ERA and a league-leading 42 saves, but he is now with the San Diego Padres, so he'll be missed. 2 pitchers that could possibly step up and make up for the loss. 29-year-old right-hander Kyle Keller comes over after appearing in 32 games for the Pittsburgh Pirates last year. 30-year-old right-hander Raul Alcantara, a 20-game winner in the KBO in 2020, ended up in the Tigers' bullpen last year after not working out as a starter. He could be really effective as a full-time reliever. The Tigers were an average hitting team, 4th in runs scored, 4th in team batting and home runs, 1st in stolen bases. Providing power in the lineup are 28-year-old infielder Yusuke Oyama, 31-year-old infielder Jeffrey Marte, and 23-year-old Teruaki Sato, a rookie last year. All 3 of them hit over 20 home runs last year. There was a 4th one. Jerry Sands left the team after 2 seasons, totaling 39 home runs. Someone who could make up for the departure of Sands is 32-year-old outfielder Mel Rojas Jr. MVP of the KBO in 2020, he arrived late last year and went 0 for his first 20-something, had a really hard time getting adjusted. But by the end of the year he was hitting well, and in his second season this year he can be counted on to provide some additional power. Sato is a concern. He was great in the first half of last season, but late in the year went on a long hitless streak and struck out a lot. It remains to be seen if he can bounce back from that. 26-year-old shortstop Takumu Nakano led the league with 30 steals in his rookie season. Second in steals was 28-year-old left-handed hitter Koji Chikamoto, who also had the league's fourth best batting average. A lot of good young hitters in the lineup should be better hitting than last year. The best starting pitchers are back. One important piece from the bullpen is gone, but there are a couple candidates to make up for the loss, so the Tigers should be good again. The Yomiuri Giants were one of the top teams in Central League all of last year, briefly taking over the top spot a few times. However, they struggled badly in the last 2 months and barely held on to the third and final spot in the postseason. In the Climax Series, they redeemed themselves a little by taking care of the Tigers, before falling to the Swallows. They were second in Central League in runs scored, first in home runs. Their top hitters last year were 26-year-old third baseman Kazuma Okamoto. He tied for the Central League lead with 39 home runs. Outfielder Yoshihiro Maru overcame a slow start and went on to hit 23 homers. Hayato Sakamoto was the Central League's best 9 shortstop, batting .271 with 19 homers. Zealous Wheeler, .289 with 15 over the fence. But how good will they be this year? Besides Okamoto, all those hitters, and a few more of their regular hitters, are in their 30s. Maru and Sakamoto, both former MVPs, have seen their numbers drop in recent years, and Wheeler's good numbers were mostly due to his performance in the first half of last season. If any hitter is going to rebound and make up for the decline of the other hitters, I think it will be Sho Nakata. He was one of Pacific League's top sluggers until last year when he hit under the Mendoza line with single-digit home runs in 73 games. But he had some problems to deal with, a back injury that kept him out a couple months, and a suspension after he assaulted one of his teammates, which is how he ended up with the Giants. Now that he's had an off-season to work everything out, he might be able to bounce back. The team had a .363 ERA, which is decent, but it was the worst out of the 3 postseason teams. Ace Tomoyuki Sugano is back. The 2-time Sawamura Award winner is not as great as he used to be, but a .319 ERA and 19 starts is still pretty good. 28-year-old Dominican CC Mercedes was reliable, winning record ERA under 4. 22-year-old right-hander Shosei Togo had a bit of a sophomore slump, .427 ERA in 150 innings. It was .276 in his rookie 2020 season. Another young starter is 25-year-old lefty Yuki Takahashi, .339 in 27 starts. That was, however, due mostly to a strong start to the season. He struggled later on. If he can keep it up for a whole season, and Togo can get back to how he was throwing 2 years ago, this starting rotation could be a lot better. As for the bullpen, they've got some good arms, but Giants relievers cost them a lot of games last year, and they could never settle on a closer. 29-year-old Brazilian Thiago Vieira saved 19 games, ERA under 3, but had trouble with consistency. Kota Nakagawa was good, .247 in 58 appearances. This was a decent pitching team last year, but definitely more of a hitting team. With pitching, youth is on their side. With hitting, it's not. So I expect to see some improvements in pitching and a little decline in hitting, though they will still be more of an offensive team. The biggest concern is their late season struggles. That's happened 2 years in a row now after looking like a championship team for most of the 2020 and 2021 seasons. Maybe that's just a coincidence, or maybe this is not a good late season team. Regardless, I don't think they've made the necessary changes to get them back to the top of the standings. The best team in Central League not to make the postseason last year was the Hiroshima Carp. They were far behind the top 3 for most of the season, but made a run in the final 2 months that came up just short as they finished 2 games behind the Giants. They led the league with .262 team batting, but were second from the bottom in home runs and runs scored. Outfielder Seiya Suzuki provided most of the offense. He led the league in batting, on-base percentage, and slugging with 38 home runs. But he is now a free agent looking to sign with a major league team. There is a chance he could make a return to the Carp if he doesn't land a deal, but I wouldn't count on it. Hitters they do have coming back, there's 31-year-old second baseman Ryosuke Kikuchi, the best defensive player in Japan over the last few years. He had a better than usual year offensively too, hitting a career-high 16 home runs. 23-year-old Shogo Sakakura in his first full season had an on-base percentage just under .400 with 12 home runs. 27-year-old Ryoma Nishikawa also hit 12 home runs, .335 on base. Most of their other returning hitters are in their early 20s. They didn't get much out of their foreign hitters last year. That might change with the arrival of Ryan McBroom, who was a decent hitter in 3 years with the Kansas City Royals, just didn't get much playing time there. Their .385 team ERA was the second highest in Central League. They had 3 good starters. 24-year-old right-hander Masato Morishita, in only his second season, had an ERA under 3 and averaged nearly 7 innings per start. 30-year-old right-hander Daichi Osera won 10 games with an ERA just over 3. And another 30-year-old right-hander Aren Kuri had a sub-4 ERA and tied for the most wins in Central League. All 3 of those pitchers were in the top 10 in ERA. 25-year-old right-handed closer Ryoji Kuribayashi had an historically great rookie year in 2021. appearing in over 50 games with a 0.86 ERA, 37 saves, and a strikeouts per 9 rate of 13.9. The rest of the bullpen wasn't so good, but they've got some good young relievers like Sotaro Shimauchi and Mikiya Takahashi, who had their first good seasons last year, and could be even better this year. A new foreign pitcher that might make a difference is 27-year-old right-hander Drew Anderson. He had a 3.27 ERA in 22 innings with the Texas Rangers a year ago. So a team that was second from the bottom of the league in runs scored and runs allowed, losing its best hitter, doesn't sound very encouraging, but there are a lot of young players for the Carp that can step up and keep the team competitive. The Chunichi Dragons are coming off another bad year, 18.5 games out of first, 6.5 out of the last spot in the postseason. It's been 10 years since their last postseason appearance. And you cannot blame the pitching for their troubles. 27-year-old right-hander Yuya Yanagi was Central League's top pitcher in 2021, leading the league in innings, strikeouts, and ERA. 33-year-old lefty Yudai Ono was the Sawamura Award winner in 2020. Last year he had the league's third lowest ERA. 24-year-old lefty Shinosuke Ogasawara was number 6 in the league in ERA. Closer Rydell Martinez had a 2.06 ERA in almost 50 games. 31-year-old right-hander Katsuki Matayoshi, a 1.28 ERA in 66 games with 33 holds. They'll be without him this year, though. He left as a free agent during the offseason. As you can probably guess, hitting was the problem. They only scored 405 runs. The next lowest run total belonged to Hiroshima with 537. Only hit 69 home runs. Most other teams hit more than twice that amount. 32-year-old hitter Dayan Viciedo led the team with just 17 home runs. 36-year-old Yohei Oshima had the team's best average, under 300, and led the teams in steals with only 16. They did not bring in any new foreign hitters to boost the offense either. They do have 45-year-old Kosuke Fukudome, who is 49 short of the 2,000 hit milestone, so that'll be something to watch. And they have a new manager, former Dragons player Kazuyoshi Tatsunami. He might bring a different approach, but he doesn't have a lot to work with. Unless they've got some young hitters who are poised to have a breakout season, it doesn't look like this team will be anywhere near the postseason race, once again. Last, we have the Yokohama DeNA BayStars. They finished in the cellar in 2021, a game and a half behind the Dragons. It was the first time the team had finished at the bottom since 2015, and it was the first year for manager Daisuke Miura. Tyler Austin was the team's best hitter and best foreign hitter in the league, with an on-base percentage over 400, slugging over 600, and 28 home runs in 107 games. He missed the last few weeks due to injury. They might not have finished last if he had been in the lineup. 23-year-old infielder Shugo Maki was impressive in his rookie season, batting .314 with 22 home runs and 35 doubles. 27-year-old Keita Sano, batting champion 2 years ago, hit .303 with 17 homers. Masayuki Kuwahara hit .310 with 39 doubles. Toshiro Miyazaki hit .301 with 16 homers and 32 doubles. Neftali Soto hit 21 over the fence, but that's down from 25 the year before, and 43 the year before that. Very likely that decline will continue. As for pitching, they had the league's worst team ERA at .413. 28-year-old lefty Shota Imanaga was good while he was out there. Only started 19 games, 120 innings, ERA just over 3. The last time he played a full season was 2019 when he won 13 games with a sub-3 ERA. He's still young, it's possible for him to get back to that. Fernando Romero had an ERA just over 3, but he too wasn't there for the whole year, only started 14 games. They've got a couple decent relievers. Edwin Escobar made over 60 appearances and recorded 32 holds. 29-year-old right-hander Yasuaki Yamasaki, 60 games, 27 holds. He was a really good reliever not too long ago, sub-2 ERA in 2019. Then an awful 2020, bounced back a little last year. Has the potential to be great again. So their best hitter missed the end of the season. Their two best starting pitchers weren't there for all of the season. And a once great reliever may be great again. All signs that this team wasn't as bad as their record showed last year, and should be a little better this year. So here's how I think it's going to turn out. I've got the Dragons finishing last. Their hitting was terrible last year and may even get worse this year. Their pitching will still be good, but you can't win if you don't score. BayStars in 5th, better than last year. Pitching won't be as bad, but probably still the worst in the league. 4th place, the Carp. Even without their best hitter from a year ago, they'll manage about the same number of wins this year. If Suzuki does somehow come back to the team, they might have enough to get into the Climax Series, but no better than 3rd place. That means I have the same 3 teams reaching the postseason this year, which sounds really boring, but I'm pretty sure of it. The Giants are the weakest of the 3 going into the season, so I'll put them at 3rd. I can't imagine this team not reaching the Climax Series. At the same time, I can't imagine a team made up of so many aging players making any big improvement. 2nd place, the Swallows. Yeah, they're the defending champions and they've got all the pieces coming back, but it seemed to me like the Tigers were the best team in Central League last year, and that's why I'm picking them to win the Central League title this year. But I'm often wrong, very often. So let me know what you think in the comments. That's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.